The forest held an unnatural stillness as Lieutenant Marcus Hale pushed through the dense undergrowth, every breath scraping painfully against the bruises forming around his throat. He had survived ambushes before, yet nothing compared to the silent precision of the extraterrestrial soldiers who had struck his team without warning. Their overwhelming strength had crushed his defenses, leaving him isolated and barely conscious amid towering pines older than recorded history. He pressed a trembling hand against his neck, feeling the elongated indentations that prove his enemy was not just stronger, but engineered for domination. Marcus had fought for years believing the worst threats came from human conflict, never imagining creatures from beyond the stars would descend upon secluded mountains with such cruel intent. Now every sound behind him felt like a countdown, every shifting branch a reminder that the attackers were not finished. He forced himself to stay moving, though dizziness swirled at the edges of his vision, urging him to collapse and surrender to the cold earth. He had not escaped to die alone, and he refused to let the memory of his fallen team dissolve without meaning. A distant vibration rolled through the ground, faint yet rhythmic, unlike the weighted steps of the alien soldiers who had nearly ended his life. Marcus froze, bracing against a cedar trunk as the tremor grew stronger, carrying a presence both unfamiliar and strangely resonant. The forest seemed to inhale around him, leaves rising in a subtle wave as though acknowledging an approaching force woven into the soil itself. A massive silhouette emerged between the trees, moving with deliberate ease, its steps heavy enough to stir dust yet quiet enough to feel intentional. Marcus's pulse pounded as the creature stepped into moonlight, revealing a towering figure covered in dark fur that shimmered like polished stone. Its amber eyes locked onto his bruised throat with startling precision, analyzing the shape of the marks as though recognizing every cruel contour. Marcus stiffened, unsure whether to run or plead, yet something in the creature's gaze halted him, a depth suggesting ancient awareness rather than primal hunger. The creature stepped closer, lowering its massive head to breathe in the scent of his injuries, its nostrils flaring with a tension that felt both protective and furious. For the first time since the attack, Marcus sensed not danger but recognition, as though the creature understood who had harmed him. The creature's posture shifted, muscles tightening beneath its fur, while its gaze hardened into something sharp enough to cut through the night. A faint echo of metallic footsteps reached them, growing louder as the surviving alien soldiers swept through the trees, searching for Marcus. The creature raised its head, its entire body aligning toward the threat with deliberate clarity, as though fulfilling a duty older than human memory. Marcus braced himself as glowing armor flickered between the trees, the soldiers advancing with ruthless coordination and weapons ready to finish their mission. Before they could fully enter the clearing, the creature stepped forward, placing its colossal frame between Marcus and the oncoming threat with unwavering purpose. The alien soldiers hesitated, their scanners flickering as they assessed the unexpected defenders shielding their wounded target. Marcus watched the creature stand steady, its fists curling with restrained fury that suggested it had seen violence like this before and refused to let it continue. Despite his pain, Marcus felt a flicker of hope ignite, fueled not by his own strength but by the silent determination emanating from the guardian now standing before him. He did not understand what the creature intended, but he recognized loyalty and resolve in its presence, an unspoken vow to oppose the threat advancing upon them. The alien soldiers raised their weapons, adjusting their formation with clinical precision, as the clearing thickened with tension like air before a lightning strike. Marcus steadied himself against the cedar trunk once more, knowing the creature's intervention had bought him moments but not salvation. Yet those moments mattered, because they revealed he was no longer facing death alone, and something powerful had chosen to stand with him. As the alien soldiers advanced in a tightening arc, the creature angled its body protectively, issuing a low growl that resonated like distant thunder rolling through stone valleys. Marcus felt the atmosphere shift, as though the forest itself leaned closer, bearing witness to a confrontation that would decide far more than his survival. The creature stepped forward one final time, anchoring its feet into the soil with resolve that signaled the beginning of a battle Marcus could scarcely comprehend, yet could no longer escape. He straightened despite the agony gripping his throat, understanding the moment demanded courage beyond training or fear. With the enemy approaching, Marcus stood beside the Guardian, sensing a turning point approaching for them. The alien soldiers advanced with mechanical precision, their footsteps pulsing through the soil like a cold heartbeat. Marcus steadied himself, though every breath scraped painfully along the bruises around his throat. Each inhale a reminder of the crushing force that had nearly ended him. He watched the towering creature beside him, its dark fur bristling, its massive frame angled protectively, as though the decision to defend him had already been made. Marcus had no idea why this being cared, but he sensed a purpose radiating from it, something older and far more resolute than simple territorial instinct. The creature's amber eyes studied the formation closing in, calculating movement with intelligence that surprised him. It was not merely reacting. It was preparing, shaping the moment with deliberate intent. The alien soldiers spread into a semicircle, their armor glowing with a muted blue that cast sharp reflections across the clearing. Marcus recognized the lead unit by its broader chest plate and jagged mask design, the same soldier who had gripped his throat hours earlier. The memory burned through him, sharp and humiliating, yet it fueled a spark of defiance that dulled his fear. He tightened his grip on the fallen branch he had taken earlier, a useless weapon against extraterrestrial technology, yet the only object that kept him from feeling utterly powerless. The leader raised its weapon, a humming tool designed to erase rather than wound, and Marcus felt the creature beside him respond instantly. The Guardian shifted its weight, lowering its stance with the practiced calm of a seasoned combatant, its breath steady and rhythmic. The air thickened as the aliens hesitated. Their scanners chirped with quiet urgency, undoubtedly recalibrating to identify the massive defender that now stood between them and their target. Marcus watched the leader tilt its head in a motion that resembled uncertainty, an expression he had never expected from a species engineered for conquest. The moment stretched between them until the creature unleashed a deep growl that reverberated through the treetops, its voice carrying both warning and authority. The forest responded with subtle movement, branches swaying though no wind touched them, as if the land itself acknowledged the creature's declaration. The aliens reacted first, lifting their weapons in synchronized motion. A crackling light gathered at the barrels, but before they could fire, the Guardian lunged forward with astonishing speed. Marcus barely registered the movement. One moment the creature stood beside him, the next it collided with the nearest soldier, knocking it into the others like a living avalanche. The ground trembled beneath the impact, sending a burst of dust into the air. Marcus stumbled back, blinking through the haze, his heart pounding as the creature fought with brutal efficiency. Every movement carried intention, each strike, each dodge, each roar communicating mastery of a battlefield Marcus could scarcely comprehend. But the aliens recovered quickly, their armor shifted, sealing fractures and stabilizing damaged components. One soldier aimed at the creature's exposed flank, firing a searing bolt that carved a glowing mark across its fur. The Guardian grunted in pain, staggering a step, yet it didn't retreat. Marcus felt a jolt of panic as he saw the creature's breathing hitch, its powerful limbs trembling for a fleeting moment. He searched the ground for anything useful, a weapon, a sharp stone, something that could tip the balance, yet nothing around him matched the brutality of alien technology. Still, he couldn't stand idle while the being that had saved him struggled under the relentless assault. He rushed forward, ignoring the burning in his throat, and hurled the branch at the soldier preparing a second shot. The attack was useless, barely nudging the alien's shoulder, but it forced the creature to shift its aim. Its visor flared red as it recalculated, and Marcus felt dread crawl up his spine as the soldier redirected its weapon toward him. Before it could fire, the Guardian intercepted with a sweeping strike that sent the soldier flying into a tree, the impact cracking its armor. Marcus exhaled shakily, realizing how close he had come to vanishing in a blast of alien light. The remaining soldiers regrouped, tightening their formation with renewed determination. Their leader stepped to the front, raising its weapon in both hands, its stance indicating a finishing attack intended to obliterate anything within its radius. Marcus sensed the shift instantly, recognizing the calm that preceded devastation. The creature stiffened beside him, its chest rising as it gathered what strength remained, though Marcus could see the toll of the battle in every pained twitch of its muscles. He understood then that the Guardian was not invincible. It was enduring this fight with sheer will, refusing to abandon despite overwhelming odds. The leader's weapon flared, generating a pulsing glow that bathed the clearing in harsh light. Marcus braced himself, But the Guardian placed a hand against his shoulder, pushing him gently yet firmly behind its enormous frame. Even injured, it shielded him as if bound by an unspoken oath. The aliens advanced in unison, their steps shaking the ground. Marcus felt his throat tighten, not from pain but from the realization that this creature, this silent protector, was preparing to sacrifice everything to ensure he lived. The moment hung suspended, the clearing drenched in tension, so thick the air itself felt ready to split. The Guardian inhaled slowly, grounding its weight, preparing for the next deadly exchange as the alien leader took aim. And as the weapon's glow intensified, Marcus understood the conflict was far from over, yet the choice to keep fighting had already been made for both of them. Marcus braced himself as the alien leader's weapon reached a searing brightness, its glow cutting through the clearing like a miniature sun, preparing to collapse. The Guardian beside him remained unerringly still, its massive frame angled to absorb the brunt of whatever devastation was about to be unleashed. Marcus felt a swell of frustration rising within him. He hated the helplessness that pinned him in place, hated watching a being already wounded prepare to take on another impossible strike. The aliens advanced with renewed aggression, their methodical confidence returning now that they believed the fight's end was inevitable. The leader steadied its stance, armor shifting into hardened plates designed to withstand counterattack, while its troops fanned out in a lethal arc that left no avenue of escape. The Guardian inhaled deeply, its breath a low tremor that Marcus felt to the ground more than heard. The creature's amber eyes flicked once toward him, and in that brief glance he recognized an understanding far deeper than simple instinct, an awareness that Marcus represented something fragile, something worth protecting regardless of consequence. Marcus tightened his fists, wishing the air around him would thicken into something he could use, wishing he could tear power from the soil and shove it into his trembling muscles. But all he had was resolve, and that alone seemed pitiful compared to the forces aligned against him. When the alien leader fired, the clearing erupted in a wave of blinding light. Marcus shielded his eyes, but the force of the impact tore through the space like a shock front. The Guardian lunged sideways, grabbing Marcus and dragging him behind a fractured boulder just as the beam struck where they had stood. The ground ripped open, dirt surging upward in a plume that blackened the air. Marcus coughed, choking on dust, his ears ringing so sharply that all sound blurred into a dull roar. The Guardian crouched protectively over him, its massive shoulder trembling from the exertion of the sudden movement. Shards of scorched earth rained down around them. When Marcus finally regained his bearings, he saw the alien soldiers regrouping again, undeterred by the destruction they had unleashed. Their resilience was terrifying, not mindless, but fueled by a calculated certainty that victory was predetermined. They advanced through the settling dust with the poise of predators reclaiming their dominance. Marcus pushed himself upright, leaning against a boulder for support as the Guardian rose beside him. Blood stained the creature's fur, its wounds deepening into painful ridges that glistened under the dim light. The creature was faltering, and Marcus felt dread sink like a stone into his stomach. The Guardian stepped forward despite its injuries, summoning strength from a well Marcus couldn't begin to comprehend. It planted its feet with deliberate precision, issuing another rumbling growl that vibrated through broken clearing. The aliens paused briefly, reassessing the creature's intent. Marcus noticed something he hadn't before. Their hesitation grew more pronounced the longer they faced the Guardian directly, as if some ancient warning embedded in their systems urged caution. That hesitation mattered. It offered Marcus a threat of opportunity, a chance to shift the balance, if only he could find a way to grasp it. He searched the ground with frantic urgency, scanning through debris and fallen branches, until he spotted a half-buried alien device near the edge of the blast zone. Its sleek casing shimmered faintly, indicating it still held residual power. Marcus sprinted toward it, ignoring the flare of pain in his ribs. The aliens reacted instantly, 2 soldiers breaking formation to intercept him. The Guardian lunged to protect him, but the movement cost it. One of its legs buckled slightly, its weight collapsing for a split second before it forced itself upright again. The alien seized on that weakness, charging in synchronized motion. Marcus reached the device and tore it from the ground, though he had no idea how to activate it. It could be a beacon, a weapon, or something far more volatile. He lifted it anyway, desperate to wield anything with the potential to shift momentum. His uncertainty dissolved when the device skimmed under his fingers and hummed to life, responding to motion rather than command. A soft vibration crawled across his skin. The alien soldiers approaching him hesitated at the sight of it, their scanners blinking with sudden recognition. Marcus didn't know how long the hesitation would last. He raised the device higher, hoping its mere presence was enough to unsettle them. The Guardian seized the moment, barreling into the soldiers from behind with renewed ferocity. It struck them with both arms, sending one skidding across the dirt and knocking the other off its feet in a shower of sparks. The remaining soldiers responded with hurried precision, firing concentrated bursts that carved scorching lines across the creature's torso. Marcus felt a surge of anguish as the Guardian staggered again, its strength wavering under the relentless assault. But the aliens' attention was now split, their coordinated formation disrupted. Marcus realized the device he held was more than a threat. It was a distraction that shattered their rhythm. The leader snarled, its armor shifting in agitation as it turned toward Marcus with renewed determination. He braced himself for another devastating attack, but the Guardian beat the leader to the strike. With a guttural roar, it drove its shoulder into the alien's chest, pinning it to a tree with enough force to crack the trunk. The clearing shook as the leader fought back, striking the Guardian with brutal intensity. Marcus watched helplessly, torn between fear and admiration. The Guardian's endurance defied reason. Every motion it made conveyed refusal. Refusal to yield, refusal to abandon him, refusal to let this place become the grave site the aliens intended. The creature's resolve ignited something inside Marcus, a fierce determination that washed away the last traces of helplessness. He tightened his grip on the device, knowing that even if he didn't fully understand it, he could not afford to hesitate. The battle was reaching a tipping point. Both sides were weakening, their movements slower, harsher, more desperate. Marcus sensed the next choice he made could determine whether they triumphed or fell. And as he stepped forward, aligning himself beside the Guardian once more, he understood that the final confrontation was no longer approaching. It was already here. The clearing seethed with tension as Marcus moved to stand beside the Guardian, the alien device pulsing faintly in his grip like a captive heartbeat. Across from them, the alien leader tore itself free from the cracked tree, its armor sparking angrily where the Guardian's last blow had dented the plates. The leader's posture shifted into a stance meant for decisive elimination, its distorted helmet reflecting the fractured landscape and the two defiant figures facing it. Marcus felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders, heavier than the bruises on his throat or the tremor in his limbs. He understood now that he and the Guardian were bound by survival, both refusing to surrender even when the odds threatened to crush them. The Guardian exhaled a labored breath, its injuries evident in the way its body tightened with each movement. Yet its eyes burned with undimmed resolve. It stepped forward, planting itself solidly between Marcus and the advancing soldiers, signaling that its purpose, to protect, to stand firm, remained unbroken despite the toll. Marcus felt a surge of gratitude that warmed the cold dread in his chest. The creature wasn't acting out of instinct alone. It was choosing deliberately to fight for him. The knowledge strengthened him, turning fear into a quiet, fierce determination that steadied his trembling hands. The alien soldiers approached, their weapons humming with lethal promise. Their formation tightened to compensate for earlier disruptions, and Marcus recognized the precision in their posture. They were preparing for a final, coordinated strike designed to overwhelm both him and the Guardian. The leader stepped ahead of the group, its armor shifting to expose a core charge of an ominous red glow. Marcus had seen glimpses of this weapon before, a devastating pulse meant to annihilate everything within its radius. If triggered now, neither he nor the Guardian would survive. The Guardian appeared to recognize the threat as well. It lowered its center of gravity, arms flexing as it gathered every last reserve of strength. Marcus sensed the creature's fatigue slipping into desperation, the effort to stay upright growing more evident with each passing second. He tightened his grip on the alien device, unsure if it could help him deflect or disrupt the impending blast, but unwilling to stand idle. He took a step forward, ready to confront whatever came next, but the Guardian extended one massive arm across his path, silently commanding him to stay back. The alien leader's core brightened, drawing in surrounding energy like a starving star. The low hum rising from its chest grew into an ominous vibration that rippled through the trees. Marcus's heart hammered as he scanned the scene, searching frantically for any weakness or opening. Then, as the vibration sharpened into a high-pitched whine, the device in his hand thrummed to life. Its lights flared brighter, reacting not to his touch but to the leader's charging energy. Marcus felt the shift instantly. This device was tethered to the alien technology in a way he hadn't understood before. It could sense the weapon's buildup, and it was responding. Realizing he held something that could alter the tide, Marcus lifted the device, pointing it toward the leader with all the strength he could muster. The alien soldiers recognized the threat immediately. Their formation faltered, a ripple of uncertainty breaking their cohesion for the first time. The Guardian seized a hesitation and moved with an explosive burst of force, launching itself at the closest soldiers to disrupt their line. Despite its exhaustion, it fought with renewed ferocity, clawing through armor and scattering soldiers like shattered debris. Marcus focused on the device, hoping instinct alone would guide him. The leader turned toward him, its chest nearly at full charge. The air thickened with static, lifting the edges of Marcus's hair. He felt the moment narrowing, every heartbeat ticking toward a point of irreversible consequence. Summoning every ounce of courage, Marcus twisted the device sharply. It emitted a piercing tone that cracked through the clearing like a blade. The leader's core flickered. Its stance faltered. Sparks flared wildly across its armor as systems conflicted with the device's interference. The Guardian took full advantage. With a roar so powerful it shook Marcus's bones, the creature lunged across the battlefield, crashing into the leader with all the strength left in its battered frame. The collision sent both figures skidding across the ground, tearing trenches into the soil. The leader's weapon detonated prematurely in a controlled burst that lit the clearing in a pulse of red light, scorching the earth but failing to achieve catastrophic release. When the smoke settled, the leader lay motionless, its armor sparking weakly as a glow from its core faded into darkness. The remaining soldiers watched in stunned silence, their formation fracturing entirely. Their scanners blinked rapidly, analyzing the battlefield with confusion bordering on panic. They had not anticipated resistance of this magnitude. With their leader down and their systems compromised, retreat became their only viable option. One by one, they activated their extraction signals, bodies dissolving into sharp columns of light that pierced the canopy before vanishing completely. Marcus turned to the Guardian, fear spiking as he saw the creature collapse to one knee. He rushed forward, dropping the device as he reached out to steady the massive figure. The Guardian's breath came in slow, heavy waves, its body quivering from exhaustion and injury. Yet its eyes, though dimmer than before, met Marcus's with quiet reassurance. The creature raised one large hand and placed it gently against Marcus's chest, a gesture that conveyed gratitude, recognition, and something Marcus couldn't name, a bond forged not by words but by survival and sacrifice. The Guardian's grip loosened as it eased back, settling its weight into the earth with deliberate calm. Marcus remained beside it, heart still racing, but filled now with awe rather than fear. The battle was over, yet the echoes of it lingered, suspended in the thick, smoky air. As the first rays of dawn broke through the trees, illuminating the clearing in pale gold, Marcus understood that the fight had changed him. It had changed everything. The world was larger, wilder, and far more mysterious than he had ever believed, and the creature before him was proof that humanity's story was only beginning.